All right, if you're building or scaling healthcare software in 2026, you already know the stakes are sky high. Today, we're diving into this explainer to construct the absolute ultimate architectural blueprint for a modern healthcare SaaS platform. Listen, we aren't just talking about generic cloud hosting anymore. We are talking about building an enterprise-grade digital ecosystem that handles highly regulated data without breaking a sweat. But before we even lay the first brick of our foundation, we've got to address the elephant in the room. Are manual operations silently killing your SaaS margins? Honestly, we see it all the time. Manual onboarding, noisy neighbor performance issues, custom forked implementations, they're just draining your recurring revenue. If your tenant setup or billing relies on some support engineer manually tweaking configurations, your architecture isn't actually scaling. It's just piling on operational debt.
So here's our blueprint for today. We're going to quickly cover the 2026 Healthcare SaaS Imperative, designing tenant isolation strategies, securing PHI and HIPAA, connecting ecosystems with FHIR, governing the embedded ERP, and finally, privacy through homomorphic encryption. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. The 2026 Healthcare SaaS Imperative. We are moving way beyond the back office. To really grasp modern architecture, we have to completely reframe how we look at ERPs in a healthcare context. The old way? Thinking of an ERP as just some standalone utility. But in 2026, ERP is embedded recurring revenue infrastructure. Modern SaaS companies aren't selling disconnected modules anymore. They're taking finance, billing, and procurement and embedding them directly into the clinical workflow. When you make those operational capabilities native to your platform, the ERP literally becomes your customer's daily operating system. And that skyrockets retention and dramatically expands your account value. Moving to Part 2. Designing tenant isolation strategies. Think of this as our luxury apartment building analogy. Seriously, think of your multi-tenant platform as a high-end luxury apartment building. You have to strike the perfect balance between great performance and strict separation. You absolutely must avoid under-isolation, where one tenant is running some massive, heavy analytics job and it creates a noisy neighbor effect that literally freezes up someone else's billing workflow. That is a massive operational risk. But on the flip side, you can't over-isolate either. If you hand every single hospital network their own custom software fork, you are going to get crushed by manual deployment drag and your margins will just disappear. True selective isolation goes way beyond just, splitting up databases. You need a highly governed multi-tenant model. Take a look at these specific layers. Yes, you must isolate data storage to prevent cross-tenant exposure. That's a given. But you also need to rigorously isolate identity and access to stop privilege leakage. And you absolutely must isolate your integrations, so a webhook meant for Clinic A doesn't accidentally route to Clinic B.
Which brings us to Part 3, securing PHI and HIPAA. These are the foundational rules.
Look, you simply cannot build a luxury high-rise on a shaky foundation. Your infrastructure has to aggressively enforce technical safeguards. We are talking AES 256 encryption for data sitting in your databases, and strict SSL/TLS encryption for anything moving across the network. Plus, you need ironclad role-based access control, or RBAC, to ensure clinical staff only see the exact records they need. Principle of least privilege, right? Oh, and getting those business associate agreements signed with your cloud providers? Totally non-negotiable.
All right, Part 4, connecting ecosystems with FHIR. Basically wiring the building.
So, the walls are up, the foundation is completely secure. Let's look at the electrical wiring. Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resources, or FHIR, has officially replaced those clunky, monolithic HL7 version 2 messages. Back in the day, systems just pushed these massive, rigid text blocks back and forth. FHIR changes the entire game by breaking health data down into granular, modern web resources.
Because it's built exactly like the modern web, using simple REST APIs and JSON, developers can pull exactly the data they need on demand. Need a patient's medication list? Boom, you just query the medication resource. You don't pull down the whole chart. Plus, it standardizes the medical vocabulary using systems like SNOMED, which dramatically lowers the headache of getting two different systems to actually understand each other.
But wait, there is a massive caveat here that we have to talk about. Adopting FHIR doesn't magically make you HIPAA compliant. FHIR is an amazing transport mechanism, but it is totally agnostic to security. If you just open up a FHIR endpoint, you are exposing your system to catastrophic risk. You still have to layer on proper security scopes, implement strict OAuth 2.0 authorization, and maintain incredibly detailed audit logs to actually stay compliant.
On to Part 5, governing the embedded ERP. Setting up our operational automation floors.
So how do you efficiently manage hundreds of healthcare tenants without hiring an absolute army of support engineers? The secret is ruthless automation. You must automate the provisioning pipeline to eliminate onboarding delays. When a new network signs a contract, a policy as code blueprint should automatically spin up their environment, provision their specific, isolated integration workers, and instantly align their subscription billing with implementation milestones. You standardize the entire lifecycle.
And why is this governance so critical? Because without it, every single enterprise customer becomes a special case. If you let your implementation teams build ad hoc configurations and bespoke API mappings just to get a deal closed, your environment is going to drift into an unmaintainable nightmare. Strict governance is literally the only thing that allows you to scale without breaking.
Finally, Part 6, Privacy through Homomorphic Encryption. We're building the advanced roof.
Let's move up to the penthouse, the very top of our architectural blueprint, homomorphic encryption, or HE. This is incredibly cool technology. It's a cryptographic technique that lets your cloud-native system run predictive models and analytics on patient data while that data stays fully encrypted. The raw data is literally never exposed as plain text in the cloud. It guarantees absolute zero-trust confidentiality, which is just a massive selling point in healthcare.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Historically, doing math on encrypted data was painfully slow, but in 2026, it's highly viable. By leveraging Kubernetes for dynamic autoscaling and utilizing some really clever cryptographic tricks like operator fusion, which combines multiple operations into a single evaluation, the compute cost drops dramatically. The speed is finally there. And as you can see, when you embed these HE operations into a container-orchestrated setup, the performance optimizations are huge. We're looking at up to a 69% reduction in inference latency and a 40% drop in memory overhead. You're getting the ultimate privacy of encrypted computation without sacrificing the lightning-fast speed your platform needs.
So, bringing it all together into our 2026 architecture blueprint, designed for incredible scale.
When you intelligently layer strict tenant isolation, standardize your wiring with FEAR, enforce automated governance, and secure your AI with homomorphic encryption, you are building an absolutely unstoppable platform. The blueprint is right here in front of you. You know exactly how to build a luxury apartment building. So here's the ultimate question to leave you with today. Will your architecture serve as a frictionless growth enabler, or will legacy thinking turn it into your biggest operational bottleneck? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks so much for tuning into this explainer, and I'll see you in the next one.